Closed captions for this episode of Life in Wilkes is brought to you by Deal Insurance Agency in Wilkesboro, an award-winning, experienced, family-owned and operated agency with service and coverage that goes above and beyond expectations. Join us on a captivating journey as we explore the charm, history, and vibrant culture of Wilkes County. Discover the hidden gems, inspiring stories, and remarkable people that make Wilkes a place worth knowing and celebrating. Join us now and experience the unique essence of Life in Wilkes.
Good morning, Holly. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to see you. Why don't you tell us, as we get started, everyone who you are and what you do?
My name is Holly Minton. I am the town manager for the town of North Wilkesboro. In sum, essentially, I manage the daily affairs of North Wilkesboro.
So that's pretty exciting, right?
It's a pretty fun job. Yes, yes.
How long have you been a town manager?
I have been a town manager almost 2 years now. Mm-hmm. I started October 17th of 22.
Okay.
Yes.
Was this your first appointment?
This was my first appointment. This was my first appointment in local government. After undergrad, I attended Appalachian State, where I did a master's in public administration, mm-hmm. which is usually the path towards local government positions. I worked an internship with Ashe County government, where I worked on grant writing, mm-hmm. and I chose to go towards nonprofit fundraising rather than local government, and I did that for quite some time. And then my last post was in Banner Elk, North Carolina. And then my family, my father became ill, and we have a family business here in North mm-hmm. Wilkesboro, David's Car Care Center. And I needed to come home to be with my family and help run our family's business for a little while. Uh-huh. And I thought it would be a 6-month sabbatical from fundraising. And it turned into 7 to 8 years.
A whole new thing.
Yes.
A whole new thing.
And then I had been involved in the community here. I'm on the board of the Wilkes Medical Center Foundation, and I was on the planning board for the town of North Wilkesboro because of my public administration background.
So you worked... You worked with the Health Foundation that does all sorts of wonderful things.
Yes, I also worked for the Health Foundation straight out of grad school. So I've got my roots in this community run pretty deep.
Did you ever imagine that you would be a town manager or someone in that or political?
I think hopefully town managers aren't political.
They're not supposed to be.
They're not supposed to be.
Right.
So I think when I started grad school, I thought maybe I would go the local government track.
Right.
But I quickly I wanted to make an impact in the greater community, and I thought that working in nonprofits was the best path to do that.
Right.
Now that I'm almost 20 years wiser, not a full 20 years wiser, right. I realize that probably I would have been much more impactful, much more quickly if I would have worked in local government. So, lessons learned. It only took me 16 years.
Well, timing's everything, and you eventually ended up as a town manager. I can't imagine that that's not anything but exciting and a little stressful at times, right?
It's a really fun job. You get to, every day's different. Mm-hmm. You manage such differing departments.
What all are they?
So it's police, fire, planning, finance, utilities, works, and community development.
So it's everything.
Yes, and which is one of the reasons that you get to have such a great impact in your community, because you get to touch so many things. Mm-hmm. And then there are also, committees that you're assigned to and greater projects that you work on. Right now we have millions of dollars in capital projects ongoing. Mm-hmm. We're building a raw water intake. We are planning to build a fire department. We're renovating Smoot Park. It's a busy job.
But it's an exciting job too. One of the things that I find interesting about your job and your position, and I spoke with Ken Nolan in Wilkesboro, and of course he had nothing but glowing praises about you as a fellow town administrator.
He is definitely a manager to be admired. He really is, and he is well respected and should be.
So when you look at that responsibility that you have, you're working in a good community, and at times, things are peaceful. At times, there's a little excitement going on that we have to work through. But that's okay, right?
Yeah. I think that in any position, in any management role, you will have confrontation. You will have crisis, but sometimes the glory of the job is moving through that confrontation, moving through that crisis, finding the solutions on the other end. Some of the best things in history were born out of confrontation.
Right. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about North Wilkesboro now, and the projects that that you mentioned earlier are ongoing. But let's talk about the future, the thing that you wake up in the morning saying, I hope this little step goes good because we plan on going over here. And if we don't get this one right, it's going to take us on a detour. Because you literally have to think on that micro level, don't you?
I mean, I think the job of any town manager is to make small steps towards 20-year goals. So, yes, from my perspective, one of the reasons I applied for the position was because I saw a sort of momentum in our community, which I hadn't felt in a really long time. I fell back in love with the people here when I came home to help run my family's business with my sister and my mom. And I kind of realized how much I just cared for the community more than I realized.
Do you think that's because as we get older, we kind of calm a moment, we have more time to look, or were things truly in a bit of a turmoil? Because I know 20 years ago, there was a lot of changes going on. Right?
There was a lot of change. There were a lot of changes and a lot of negative outcomes that created, hardship for our community. But if I feel like you can't be in our community without feeling kind of the buzz of the momentum some days. There was an article in the newspaper about the creation of a river district, which came out of the outdoor economy plan. And since I took this position, I've tried to continue down that path towards the creation of a river district, the redevelopment of our downtown, which is, but also just greater connectivity between ourselves and Wilkesboro. If they do well, we do well, and vice versa. And then, just in improving our community to the point where people want to live here, they want to play here.
That's starting though, right?
Absolutely, yes. Right. So one of the, it's very exciting, and that's part of what makes the job fun, right? That you get to be a part and have a hand in the decision making or the implementation of the greater vision that your board sets. So, yeah.
What do you think the larger challenges are now?
I think the larger challenges, honestly, now are similar to what they were 20 years ago. Societal problems very rarely have quick fixes. Opioid usage, of course, which has, a circular effect with unhoused population and children needing care that don't have the care, they need. So that, sometimes we feel like a dog chasing our tail, trying to correct some of those ills. And, from a local government, from a town perspective, it's not necessarily, it's not assigned to us according to general statute that we touch any of those parts of the community. But from a local perspective, there are expectations there. So, but I would say opioid usage is definitely still a major issue in our community.
But there are some very aggressive, it seems like, programs that are in place to help support people going through that journey, and these are private, not-for-profit initiatives that are happening now that actually are not only celebrated locally, but getting some national attention.
Absolutely. R3 is they're doing a great job, and they're really shouldering a lot of the lift. Also our labor force has dwindled over the last 20 years. That's an issue for economic development. It's a pretty big issue for our community right now, and housing, the housing shortage. That was, born out of COVID, honestly, in some ways.
But isn't that an interesting problem? Because for there to be a housing shortage, that means that the demand has increased. So some of the problems of not having people move into the area or come back, so they did. Yes. People moved in and said, there are not enough homes to meet all of these needs of new people coming in. Well, is that it? Or
I mean, I think that's part of it, right. And I think that also we have a considerable amount of our housing stock that isn't in good repair.
Okay.
So that's creating housing issues, and then our code enforcement list is quite long at the town of North Wilkesboro, which it is in every town. I mean, the problems we are experiencing are no different than almost, every local government, every other local government. We're all dealing with the same things. We're just all looking to one another, trying to figure out the solutions that others are creating and how to implement them. But then also, trying to take those solutions and implement them in our own context, which is challenging.
So is it fair to say that problems are had by everyone, but it's the movement toward the solution that we have to celebrate?
I hope so. Yes, I think that's fair to say. I'm hopeful. And as a community, we are working better together, in my opinion, than we have in a very long time, which I think is also indicative of the momentum that we feel. I clearly wasn't in a leadership local government position 20 years ago, but I think when you're in a class at the School of Government and you're talking about doing a joint intake with Wilkesboro, other local government managers are like, wow, y'all work together so well. How do you do it? And I mean, the answer is we don't know another way, but I mean, I don't know that there's a
just
right
what
or
we do.
Yeah, right? I'm not sure that. I mean, why wouldn't we work together? Right. I mean, we share the same footprint, basically.
Right.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long you've lived here, but a lot of folks who have lived here a very long time don't know where Wilkesboro ends and North Wilkesboro begins.
Well, of course.
So,
but I can read history, and there have been moments in time of where peace and harmony was not exactly as strong as it is now, right?
Yeah. Yes, I would say so. I would say that there have been moments in history when our petty goblins have gotten the better of us.
Right. Right. Petty goblins, that's quite the word, right? Petty goblins.
You got party goblins and petty goblins.
Yeah, sure. Well, I like it when words like that are literal, it's like the petty, that's right. Well, emotions are something that we all have, and I think that's part of Southern tradition. David Johnson was in yesterday, a great local musician with all this incredible history. And, music folk tend to celebrate or let their emotions come to life with their music. And that's why we have great celebratory music and some a bit more somber, right?
Yes.
And all of it feeds us a bit.
Yes.
Or so it seems. Well, what are you the most grateful for right now in your position? You know, we've got the past, we've got this big future thing, but we all live right in this moment, and our moments are always for the future, not the past. So what are you grateful for now and hopeful for in the future?
I'm very grateful for the staff I have. We have had a fair amount of turnover in our staff since I took my position. Not necessarily because I took the position. Well, definitely not because I took.
You weren't being a petty goblin.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. We've had a lot of folks retire. I mean, the silver tsunami affects us all. And so we've had, and I had open positions when I started.
Okay.
We had an interim fire chief. We didn't have a public utilities director. My finance director is retiring.
Wow.
So, our Parks and Rec director retired. And most of these folks were, the institutional knowledge that we have lost or will lose over the next, 12 months. So I've had to work very, very diligently to fill those roles with capable people.
Is it going well?
Yes. I think the staff, my staff are what I'm most grateful for. From a day-to-day perspective. If we want to talk like a higher level, my answer would be different. But my staff we have a municipal attorney now who's phenomenal. We're building the team.
So it's the land of opportunity for everyone now.
It is, and I feel like because our team is new, there are less mental fences that have already been built. So, which from my perspective creates the potential for greater change and greater growth, and also greater mistakes. But we'll hopefully not have too many of those.
You don't have to get over being mad when you haven't been mad to begin with, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So that's a practical human thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. So, do you imagine, because of new hires, people coming in who I imagine some will be local, some may not be, right? Do you feel like that empowers you and empowers the town to move forward in a way that we're going to be future protected a bit for at least the next 25, 30 years?
I hope so. I hope that we have the type of leadership, including myself, that values growth in our staff and that so that the staff will feel valued and in turn stay and grow with us as a community. I feel like there's a lot of potential there,
right?
But ask me in 5 years, and we'll.
Sure.
I might be able to tell you a little more directly.
We'll check in on you every year, and just to make sure, have you come in and say, "Okay, how's Bob doing?" No, we're not going to do that. But if it's talked about, though, if it's talked about and openly talked about, maybe the next time, there needs to be a whole new crew because people are retiring, right?
Yes.
Maybe if that's part of the mindset, and actually maybe that mentoring and helping groom people to come on board, maybe that would be an opportunity for you to, or for your successor, because if you do 25 more years, you may be wanting to go too. But that's an idea. A community that has an attitude of growing together.
Yes.
And who are generationally conscious.
Yes.
Because it's always tomorrow. You said what you're talking about, projects that are going to be, 15, 20 years down the road before they fully materialize.
Yes.
But you have to do that work now.
Yes. I think that Ken Nolan is a good example of a manager that thought in 20-year terms.
Right.
He put things in place 20 years ago that are, coming to fruition now with their park system and with their commons and with other. There are a lot of their trail system. So I do think hopefully we are going to do that on a larger scale moving forward. And I think we are, and I think we have been. I think just some of the fruits of that haven't been seen yet.
Right.
But
still gardening.
yes, we're still gardening. Yeah.
That's great. Well, one of the things I enjoyed about Ken's conversation was because he's like, look, I'm coming up on, I'm going to retire. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And he says, I'm not moving. This is home. Mm-hmm. So for a lot of people who are in that business that you're in as well, it's like you get a post here and you get a post there 5, 10 years, and then you're off somewhere else.
Yeah.
But he did not do that. But when he retires, he's not going anywhere because he loves his community. Do you think about that a little bit now that you're just going to grow your retirement place to the community so much that there's no way you'd move?
I am what you refer to as a homegrown manager, which is unique. It is not common for managers to manage in their hometowns.
Is that because of, just local connections and potential conflicts, or is it, or people want to go do something else, or why?
Well, I think it makes it a very different job when you come into a job and you already know all of your neighbors and your friends are here and your family are here, and it just puts a different level of honestly a different level of pressure, whether that's good pressure or bad pressure. It depends on the day.
Right.
But honestly,
Sure.
But if I fail at what I'm doing here,
oh yeah.
All my friends and family and neighbors are going to know it, right?
What's wrong with Holly?
Yeah,
what did she do?
What did she do? What'd you do? I think that's probably one reason. And then also because the local political landscape, there are things that, managers may or may not want to walk into from that perspective.
Sure. Do you get, but since you have so many family members here and friends here, people you've grown up with, do you get calls occasionally? Holly, can you talk to the chief? I got pulled over.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I walk a very, very hard line in that regard. But and I have no problem walking it. I'm not one to shy away from saying no,
right.
But especially when no's the right answer, and also no is a complete sentence.
Sure.
So,
right.
But that being said, because I'm in the unique position of being a homegrown manager, I do hope that this will be my post. But you never know what's going to happen. Right. And you never know. I mean, this is my first town manager role.
Right.
I set some pretty firm parameters my first year. I wrote them down. I said, if you haven't achieved this by year 5, then you should probably reassess whether you're doing a good job or a bad job. Those terms are pretty simplistic, but also pretty authentic, right?
Sure,
either you're succeeding or failing.
Right.
And that is a hard thing to measure when you're managing, 8 different departments that are very different in their nature.
For someone who's in a position that's by design not political, you still have a lot of human emotional politics to balance, right?
Oh, yes.
And that's not elected positions. That's self-imposed things that all humans have, right?
Yes.
Like how, you don't want to upset this family member because, it might do this. And some people don't care. It's like some people like to stir up all the trouble. But if you're going to be in your type of a job, I would think you want to minimize that and so you can stay focused on the day-to-day affairs.
I've always had a rule. You never burn a bridge, right?
Right.
If you can avoid it, you never burn a bridge. So yes, at work we say we try to deal with problems, not personalities. as much as possible, but personalities come into play.
Sure.
And yeah, it's sometimes a fine line that you're walking there.
Yeah, sure. Well, you've got Mayor Hauser. He's an interesting fellow.
He's
and
great.
And massive personality, which
yes,
I think is great for the position of mayor.
Oh, he's dynamic, right?
Right.
I think that's kind of a good word for him. His office has a door that adjoins my office, and he is in the office 5 days a week. He's a great mayor. He's a huge advocate for the staff. He's a huge advocate for the community. He's just, in my opinion, he's what a mayor should be. He knows his role and he does it well, but he also, when we need him, is there, and when, but he also knows his role and he does.
He stays in that lane.
Yeah, he stays in his lane.
When he sat there not long ago, we talked about, being mayor, and he was describing this experience. I don't know, some developer in from Charlotte or somewhere, and he was describing the interaction and what was going on. I said, "Yeah, you're the cheerleader. You're the salesperson. You're the one that's out there selling the area," and he embraced that.
Yes,
but he's got a history of being a great salesman.
He does.
So
yes,
using those skills, that's a smart thing to do.
Yes, he is. He's a great salesman for our community. What does he say? If it's untold, it's unsold.
Yes.
He does a phenomenal job.
Right. Well, we lean heavily into that idea as well. So we like the idea of sharing our stories because it matters. Mm-hmm. It really does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Occasionally, we'll. I've been accused of being a little bit too optimistic on things. Well, there's the other side. Yeah, but I'm not telling. I'm not. I'm talking to someone dealing with the other side. I don't need to deal with that part of it. I think there are some things that are just obvious, aren't they? Mm-hmm. And the more time we spend on celebrating our solutions and the things that we are doing right, that opens the door for it to happen more often. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you believe that?
I do. I am inherently an optimistic person, sometimes to the point where I have to manage myself, right? I have to manage my own expectations.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because I will get really excited about something.
You mean like you want Christmas to come in October?
Christmas does kind of come in October because October is when my birthday is. So, I mean, if we're, no, I'm just,
that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
I am optimistic by my very nature. So.
Oh, October. Yeah, in your mind, and we'll do this with you, but isn't that the Apple Festival?
It's the Apple Festival is the first of the month, and Spooktacular is at the end of the month, and Halloween, and yeah.
So look, you could have your birthday starting the first Saturday in October, right? And invite all your friends in, and
yes,
and invite them to your party, and it just happens to coincide with the Apple Festival, right? and they could do a special, holly apple cider or something to celebrate your birthday. And then you got Spooktacular, and there could be all these contests, and it could be the Holly Award for the best family costume.
That seems a little more me focused than I feel like I am. I am an introvert. I mask well, and
that's just for your own brain.
Yes, but I one of the hardest parts about the job is actually being out in the community. To the volume that I need to be, so that I understand.
Do you have to push yourself to do that?
Oh, absolutely, yes, because there's nothing I love more than just walking in the woods with my dogs, right?
Okay.
Just me.
Right.
But no, the social aspect of it is, which
most, I don't know what percentage of people are introverts and extroverts, but if it's 50-50, then half the people in town are going to exactly know how you feel.
Yes,
and the other part are going to say, well, just stay a little longer.
Well, from the typically managers are pretty outgoing. Mm-hmm. But everyone's different. Everyone has their own strengths and their own weaknesses.
Right.
but I do love Spooktacular and the Apple Festival.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, I'll see if I can talk to some people who get you. See, it's not you doing it if somebody else helps spur on the idea, right?
I typically cringe when things are made to focus on me. Right. So
it just makes you nervous.
No, I would never say that. No.
Maybe you could bring your dogs to work, at least one of them.
I do bring one of them to work sometimes.
Oh, do you?
Every once in a while she gets to come.
And that are your days brighter when your dogs are there?
They're a little distracted because she's roaming in between offices and saying hello to people, and I would prefer to keep her in my office.
But she doesn't prefer that.
No, she's 100-pound Great Dane, so she wants to roam and do what she wants, and she's a little too friendly.
Well, that's all right. That's okay. We're canine friendly. We think that's a great idea. Anything to keep the edge off is I think that's a pretty positive thing. Holly, what are your expectations for the year? What can people do? People who are watching now, how can citizens, how can people help the process? How can we be in a support role for what North Wilkesboro is working on now?
I mean, from my perspective, participation. We have the downtown partnership. We have board seats to fill there. We have the planning board. We have board seats to fill there. The Board of Adjustment. We have...
Who needs to... what type of person... I don't know, type, but what's that qualify? Who should reach out and say, hey, I'd like to help?
So I think that the work you do on the planning board is a little more technical. But I don't think it's outside of anyone's wheelhouse as long as they're willing to try.
Right.
And really, it's just about showing up.
Showing up.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like sometimes it's about doing your homework and showing up.
But do they need to be residents of North Wilkesboro, though?
Yes, right? They do have to be. And residents of, depending on which planning board seats, we have ETJ and then we have the corporate footprint. But but the partnership, you don't have to be a resident of North Wilkesboro. You just really have to love downtown.
Right.
So, but in general, come to the meetings, learn about what we're doing, and hopefully we do an okay job of pushing out what we're doing to the public. But participate, come to the meeting,
they
listen,
can find out things
interact.
on the website, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Everything is listed there.
Yes, and social media. We have multiple platforms for social media. But we have 2 meetings a month, which is kind of unique for a town of our size. Normally, towns have 1 meeting a month. So we have plenty of opportunities for folks to come out and listen and learn. And some of it may be a little bit, for some folks, you might glaze over a little bit when we're talking about tables of use and things of that nature for zoning. But in general, if you hang in there, you're also going to hear about, projects and the cost of those projects and the how you can be involved, how you can give us input for what you want to see at Smoke Park. And
so the general idea of just showing up, whether you want to be on a board or not, just showing up and learning how things work,
right,
that brings value, right?
Absolutely. I think, when you're outside of local government, this is a good example, we don't oftentimes think about the things we put in our drains having to be processed afterwards. If you ever want to take a tour of our wastewater treatment plant, I would encourage anyone to do so. It's actually fascinating. We don't treat the water with chemicals. We treat, but it's really interesting. But
it is treated.
Yes, it's absolutely treated. Yes,
right.
Yeah. But if you put it down your drain, it goes into our system, and then it has to be cleaned before it enters the river. So, and when you think about that and you think about those things in those terms, if you have a garbage disposal, a lot of folks will put anything down their garbage disposal. I had a friend come in from Charlotte, and we were cleaning out my fridge, oddly enough. She was in town for a few days. She really likes to organize things. Right.
That's a good friend to have.
She's a great friend, yeah. But she kept putting things down my garbage disposal, and I was like, please stop doing that. And she was like, why? And I was like, because we have to clean it out of there. I was like, it goes to a place where they have to clean it afterwards. And same thing with our clean water. There's a process that goes into that. There's expense. Those expense translate to the fees you pay.
That's the difference. You just hit the difference. In your life and everybody that works for the town, they know the processes, right?
Yes.
So if you don't know the processes, then you wouldn't have a motive.
You turn on the tap.
That's right.
Yeah.
You turn on the tap. You take a shower.
It works.
You put stuff down the disposal, and we don't know. But if we know, then we're mindful of it.
I think so, or hopefully we are.
Or more so likely to.
And I mean, in our stormwater system, the stormwater system goes into the river. So what you put in the river here affects Winston-Salem. It affects Yadkin, before Winston-Salem. It affects anybody that's on the Yadkin PD river system. And I think if we thought in terms of how what we do affects other people, or if we were more mindful of it, we might all have a nicer, cleaner place to live.
At least we could sleep better, knowing that we've done something, whether it's a huge difference. But, if you got 60,000 people moving in the right direction, if you got 60,000 people that all of a sudden nobody litters, then nobody's got to pick up the litter.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we at Town Hall, we say we all want to row in the same direction. And if our whole community rows in the same direction, we'll move forward a lot faster.
Right. So you believe that they can?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the things that have happened over just the last, 5 years prove that we can row together. We just, need to keep doing it.
Yes. So row and keep rowing.
Yes.
Together.
Yeah. I think so.
I love that. So the thing that when you look at your job now, I know 5 years we don't know what's going to happen, but if for you to have your final say on today's visit, and we'll be visiting in the future too. I think we should visit after your birthday. I mean, you'll have had 2 big parties. Don't get anxious. It's just, I think one about 40,000 people, 50,000 people show up. 70,000 depends upon who's counting the numbers, and that's okay. Oh, look at that. It's got your town logo right back there. Turn around and look. Right there.
I love that logo.
Yeah. What perfect timing.
Yes.
All these images floating around, they're all in Wilkes County on both the monitors. And one thing that we discovered in talking with people, when I talk to someone about travel and tourism or promoting the area, everybody talks about the great outdoors. And I talk to people also who say there's nothing to do. And I'm like, oh, but there is.
No, there's so much to do.
There's so much to do.
Yes.
And these images have really helped us just to visualize ourselves of how much beauty that nature has provided us here.
Right.
And
that has never, that is something I've never overlooked. But I love the lake. I grew up tubing the river with my family. Before, I guess, tubing the Yadkin was cool, maybe it was cool and then it became uncool. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not very good with things like that. But we grew up on the river. And, my dad would strap inner tubes together and put a piece of plywood on it, and we would have like a little raft.
Oh my gosh, Huckleberry Finn type
it was
stuff.
very fun. Yeah.
Love that.
But anyway, so but we live in a truly beautiful place, and we have so many outdoor assets because of that. It's hard to overlook them when you live in it, or maybe it's easier to overlook them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, you know how life is. We get busy. we get busy. Our dog runs away, and
Did your dog run away?
And no, it was a it was a broad statement.
I was like,
that would be a sad day.
Yeah.
That would be a sad day. No, he hasn't. But things happen in life, and we have unfortunate moments. But then we get over that, hopefully.
Right.
So maybe that's what we take away from today's conversation. There's opportunities to be involved.
There's so many opportunities to be involved right now. We definitely, yeah.
And there's good momentum.
I think so. I hope so.
You feel like there is?
Absolutely. I think we've got, our board is at our next meeting. They're potentially approving the creation of a master plan for our downtown and our river district, which will then spiral out into multiple projects after that. We've got, our parks are looking better than they have because our board has chosen to invest in them. They allocated $400,000 last year just to focus on park projects. And then also, in addition to that, we're spending, I think we have a budget of almost $4 million to renovate Smoot Park and to build a new pool house and a new pool, which, that I'm not sure if you've driven by that pool in the summer, but it is an exciting place. It's full of kids.
Right.
The other week, I tubed the river with some friends, and we when we got off the river, I bet there were 300, 400 people in Smoot Park between a Democratic convention and the pool being open and birthday parties and the new playground that Meredith Detch, our planning director, worked so hard to make happen. I think we've got a lot of exciting things going on. We've got new businesses coming into downtown, so yeah. And then not only just downtown, but we've got opportunities, hopefully, that will be capitalized on within the next 6 months or so and push out more good news.
Nice. Well, I don't know if you realize what's happened, but in the past 5 minutes, I think you've talked yourself into another 5 years. So now you've got 10 years, you don't have to make big decisions.
We'll see. Right now, I feel good about it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Thank you, Holly. Great to see you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Thank you for spending time with us on Life in Wilkes. We value you as a viewer and appreciate when you share the show with your friends and family. Be sure to bookmark our channel and join us again on the next episode of Life in Wilkes.